What do you think is the cause of the supposed male loneliness epidemic? Like and subscribe for more. Story 1. The death of the third place. When's the last time you and your friends just hung out in real life? Not online, not over text, but actually went out and spent time together? A friend and I moved to a new city recently. Different circumstances, same timing. And I've been trying to convince her to go out to bars with me. Sure, it's cheaper to drink at each other's places, but we really need to expand our friend circle. It's hard to meet new people when you're always at home. The problem? There are so many barriers. First, doing anything out, whether it's eating, drinking, or just hanging out, is expensive. Second, the people we see when we do go out are almost always 10, 15 years older than us. And third, there aren't even many local spots left to go to. COVID wiped out so many businesses, and rising rents keep inflating prices across the board. It's tough, but I still try. Staying home all the time gets boring real fast, and I'd rather keep looking for a community than settle for isolation. Story 3. There has always been a strong every man for himself mentality in Western culture, but COVID amplified it tenfold. The vast majority of men think their duty in life is to care for their wife and kids and parents. Caring about your male friends almost feels taboo these days. Why can't men love and support other men? Women came together and unified to improve their quality of life, which began a global cultural shift in Western culture. Why can't men stick up for each other and unify in that way? Why can't we love each other and be emotional with each other? I see so many dudes on Reddit complaining about a lack of support, especially from women. Why can't we start by supporting each other? We can make so much progress for men's health and safety without ever even mentioning women. But instead, most men think the only thing that's important is the health and safety of their wife and kids. Story 4. I heard this on a podcast once. Most men don't have real friends. We have bros. That group of guys you hang out with to play games, grab beers, or do random stuff together, but you never actually talk about life. Think about it. Someone in your group buys a new house or goes on a holiday. You know the headline, but nothing deeper. No personal details, no real connection. It's why, when your mom or your partner asks you something specific about one of your friends, you're left shrugging, I don't know. For a lot of men, this lack of deeper connection is the norm. And honestly, I get it. Speaking for myself, I don't have extended family, and my relationship with my close family is minimal. Growing up, I got used to bottling up emotions. It's complicated, awkward, and feels impossible to open up now. From the response this thought sparked online, it's clear that I'm not alone. So many men feel the same way, stuck in surface-level relationships, craving connection, but not knowing how to bridge that gap. At the same time, there are guys out there who do manage to form deep, meaningful friendships, or who are perfectly fine with keeping things light. The truth is, everyone's different. Our needs, fears, insecurities, and childhood experiences all shape how we connect, or don't connect, with others. But for many men, this bro culture is compounding the loneliness epidemic, leaving a lot of us feeling like we're on an island, even when we're surrounded by people. It's not about blaming anyone or saying one way is better than the other. It's about acknowledging the issue and figuring out what we can do to help each other feel less alone. Story 5. Robert D. Putnam's 2000 book, Bowling Alone, The Collapse and Revival of American Community, examines the steady decline of social capital in the U.S. since the 1960s. Using the metaphor of bowling alone, Putnam highlights how people increasingly engage in activities alone rather than as part of communal groups. This shift, he argues, is tied to broader societal issues like reduced civic engagement, weaker social bonds, and even higher rates of depression. Through data from surveys and experiments, Putnam paints a detailed picture of how community participation has dwindled and what that means for society as a whole. However, the book isn't all doom and gloom. Putnam also explores potential ways to rebuild social connections and foster a renewed sense of community in modern life. Story 6. The rise in loneliness and social disconnection stems from a mix of interwoven factors: reduced childhood socialization, parenting trends, and household dynamics often offer fewer opportunities for early social interactions. The paradox of social media, despite its name, social media frequently fosters isolation rather than genuine connection, whether by design or not. Shifting relationship dynamics. Rapid changes in societal and evolutionary expectations around relationships leave many feeling confused about the rules and unsure of how to navigate them. Political intrusion into private life. Personal matters have increasingly been weaponized for political campaigns, leading to additional tension and conflict. Contradictory social expectations for children. Kids face conflicting messages about how they should behave, creating confusion and stress. Impact of COVID-19. 2 years of limited social contact have stunted the development of social skills for younger generations, with work-from-home lifestyles still affecting many adults. Economic challenges. Economic downturns and worsening financial dynamics limit opportunities to socialize in consumption-driven cultures. Generational cycles. Broader societal trends indicate we're in a phase marked by loneliness and division. It's important to note this isn't solely a male issue. Skyrocketing rates of antidepressant use, substance abuse, and reckless behavior among women point to a larger, overarching social crisis affecting everyone. Story 7. The cultural efforts to fix masculinity have had a profound impact, but not necessarily in the way society hoped. For some, it's felt like masculinity has been weaponized. Growing up in a feminist community, I witnessed this firsthand. The town I lived in was home to a prominent women's college, and most teachers and parents were second or third-wave feminists. While the intentions may have been good, the execution often fell short. The rise of figures like Andrew Tate isn't surprising in this context. For years, boys have been told, implicitly or explicitly, that they're less than. While female classmates received encouragement, praise, and support, boys were often met with a half-hearted good job. It's demoralizing, especially when the narrative insists men will succeed regardless of circumstance, so they don't need the same level of care or recognition. This imbalance has created a culture that fosters resentment and alienation. Many young men grow up hearing that being male, and especially white and male, makes them inherently flawed or oppressive. And now society seems shocked when some of these boys grow up to become radicalized, antisocial, or deeply mistrustful of the systems that dismiss them. I'm fortunate to have had great teachers and male mentors who guided me through this confusion, but not everyone is so lucky. What's most frustrating is how social liberalism has begun to mirror the very ideas it once fought against. Segregationist and misogynistic rationales, only applied in reverse. It's a troubling shift, and it feels like we've lost the plot. Story 8. Maintaining friendships requires a lot of mental energy. Energy that's increasingly scarce. After work, whatever reserves we have left are drained by endless forms of entertainment and consumption. The problem is, we're never bored long enough to feel the push to address our unhappiness or take meaningful action. The brain's reward pathways, which once motivated us to venture out into the world, have been hijacked by modern distractions. It's easier to stay in and indulge in quick dopamine fixes, watching porn, playing video games, smoking weed, or eating junk food, than it is to tackle the deeper issues. But this lifestyle only compounds the problem, leading to depression, anxiety, and addictions, trapping people in a self-perpetuating cycle. On top of that, the cultural landscape has shifted in ways that exacerbate loneliness. Traditional male spaces for camaraderie and bonding have largely disappeared. In-person socialization is on the decline, and modern dating dynamics often leave men feeling at a disadvantage. Together, these factors have created a perfect storm for an epidemic of isolation and disconnection. Story 9. A big part of why men today feel so lonely ties back to declining confidence and positivity. It's a tough reality to face, but one of the major culprits is the relentless shaming of men for what they say, do, or even try to achieve. For decades, especially on social media, the message has been clear and damaging. Men are told they're not needed, that their worth is conditional on what they can provide. When this message is repeated over and over, it takes a toll. It wears down self-esteem, chips away at confidence, and leaves many men struggling to maintain a positive outlook on life. This constant erosion of self-worth doesn't just stay internal. it ripples outward, affecting how men connect with others and their willingness to engage socially. Over time, it becomes another piece of the loneliness epidemic many are experiencing. Story 10. COVID-19 didn't create the problem, but it certainly didn't help. I'm in my 40s with a 22-year-old son, and one thing my friends and I have noticed is how differently boys today socialize compared to when we were their age. They don't go out and hang the way we did. My son barely talks to anyone outside our family unless it's through Xbox. His final year of high school, which should have been filled with social milestones like prom, graduation, and homecoming, was spent entirely at home doing online learning. For safety's sake, everything was canceled or turned into a socially distanced, masked-up version of what it was supposed to be. And while it may have protected their physical health, it came at a real cost. He's socially stunted, maybe permanently. Now, he's always been a bit introverted, likely somewhere on the spectrum, speech and language arts challenges growing up. But the pandemic amplified it. He communicates fine at work and through gaming, but when it comes to connecting with people in a community or building personal relationships, he struggles. He finds getting personal with others confusing. It's like he missed a crucial stage of learning how to navigate social connections. A buddy of mine has a son the same age who went through something similar. After the pandemic, his kid also seems stuck in this socially awkward phase. My friend decided to push him out of his comfort zone. He encouraged his son to take a buddy and go to a spring break hotspot. Thousands of people, social opportunities galore, and yes, some liquid courage helped break through that social anxiety. The kid came back with a new best friend and a girl he even visited afterward. It was a turning point for him. I wish it were that simple with my son. I've pushed him in every way I know how, both good and bad, to get on with his life. I've shared my experiences, the benefits and the pitfalls, and tried to guide him toward taking those steps himself. But at some point as parents, we'll need to take a tougher stance. We've made promises about timelines and how the dynamic within our family will shift, and we'll have to follow through, not just for his sake, but for our own mental stability and to set an example for his younger sibling about what to expect at this stage of life. Writing this down feels like a weight off my chest. I just hope this resonates with someone else out there going through something similar. Can't wait to read other people's posts. Story 11. For most of history, even the most average men had little trouble finding a wife. This was largely due to the social and economic constraints placed on women. Once a woman left her father's home, she had very few options for supporting herself. Her best bet was to find a husband. In fact, a woman couldn't even get a credit card without her husband co-signing until around 1972. In those times, most women, once they reach a certain age, would settle for any decent guy who came along. A man they weren't thrilled about was still better than facing the alternatives: financial insecurity and a lack of independence. That dynamic has shifted, especially in the West. Today, women can get jobs, manage their own finances, save for retirement, and even live independently in their later years without ever needing a husband. Marriage is no longer a financial necessity. Women marry when they want to, not because they have to. This change has left many men upset. Some feel entitled to female companionship just by virtue of existing. They believe that being nice, having a job, and treating women well should automatically attract a partner. However, these are now baseline expectations, not guarantees. Men who feel entitled to companionship often become angry, resentful, and trapped in loneliness and despair. They don't understand that simply being decent and having a job aren't enough to stand out. Women now have the ability to be more selective and seek partners who meet higher standards, something that simply wasn't possible for women in the past. Story 12. Male issues are not being taken seriously. Look at your title, Supposed. Straight off the bat, it shifts the focus to men to prove there's a problem. Story 13. Feminism has made me feel like a monster simply for being male. And over time, that led me to believe that women don't want me around. I don't want to make anyone feel uncomfortable or bad. So I started withdrawing from social situations. What's the point in trying if my presence alone feels monstrous? Even if someone could tolerate me for a while, I might unknowingly do or say something that makes them uncomfortable. It feels like an uphill battle, so why bother trying at all? Story 14. Everyone sees what's happening and wonders why men are struggling. But here's the problem. Men have agency. If something's going wrong, it must be their fault. We just need to figure out how to make them change on their own, right? Women, on the other hand, have empathy. If something's wrong with them, it's someone else's fault. We need to understand what's happening and fix it. Women are cherished, while men are expected to be the soldiers who sacrifice themselves so everyone else can have a good life. But we've removed the rewards for that and called it progress. We claim to care about men, but only up to the point where we can tell them what they need to change. If we can't find a solution, we simply don't know how to help. We never stop to think that men might need more than just criticism. If they were women, we'd be building institutions, creating scholarships, and pushing for their improvement. That's the reason this is happening, and that's why it's not going to get better. We've noticed the outcomes because it will affect the rest of us, not because we genuinely care about men. Story 15, a lot of mental health professionals approach men's issues from a feminine perspective, and that's a problem. Most mental health professionals are women, as are professors and leaders in the field. While they mean well and genuinely want to help, the approach often isn't right for men. Men deal with their issues differently than women, and when mental health professionals try to help using the same methods, it can do more harm than good. Men need to process and deal with emotions, but not in the same way women do. The current approach is essentially helping to diminish masculinity rather than support it. Another factor is that women are now more independent than ever. They don't need men for survival. They no longer rely on men's money, so what they do need is our masculinity. If that's lacking, they'd rather be alone than settle for something less. There's a lot more to this, but it's worth adding to the ongoing conversations. If you like stories like these, please make sure to like and subscribe for more. If you have any opinions on these stories, let me know what you think in the comments below. I hope you all enjoyed today's story time, and I hope to hear from you all soon.